couple questions off of X, Blue Sky, Discord. Zahid wants to know, could you really see a Morgan Rielly trade happen this offseason?
I think it's unlikely, but, I can't rule it out entirely because I do believe the Leafs have to look at, we're past the point of, everything just stays the same. But, in Rielly's case, he has a full no movement clause. They would have to satisfy that. And, I still think he performs an important function on the team. I mean, it's one thing to say, okay, you're getting rid of him. I mean, they already probably lack a little offensive flair on their blue line right now. Don't get me wrong. I love some of what Brad Treliving's done with this blue line, but it's definitely been with more of a defensive bent. I mean, I just don't know how you replace his offensive minutes and his ability to get the puck up to having the skilled forwards they do. So I think it's a low percentage thing. I don't think he's of any mind to be moved, and I don't know how you're getting better while removing him from the equation. But I will acknowledge, I mean, it's high past time in Toronto to at least consider some big changes. Marner might be one, but no reason necessarily to stop there if there's other things that can be improved.
Chaotic Neutral wants to know, I am dying to know why Jay Woodcross hasn't gotten a coaching job yet. It seems really baffling to me, and I was wondering if CJ has any insight into it.
I don't have specific insight there. I think that we're at a time where, there's there's been a lot of turnover. So there's guys with more experience than Jay. And then it seems like the teams that might hire someone like Jay, who's had the one head coaching experience in the NHL with Edmonton, are opting to go with some younger looks, right? Looking to find maybe the next Spencer Carberry, which of course could still be Jay Woodcross. I mean, who am I to say? But, I've been a little surprised, because he was fired at the start of last season. So he went through last summer without getting a job, and, it doesn't appear, at least to me, unless there's a surprise, that he's going to get one of the remaining head coaching jobs that are out there available. Perhaps it's a case where he's going to have to take a step back, which has happened to a number of coaches, and, bide his time as a number two somewhere and wait for that opportunity to be a head coach again. But, it didn't end great for him in Edmonton. The Oilers team was at the bottom of the league, or second last, when he was fired in November of 2023. And, they went on to the Stanley Cup that same season. And then now they're having a lot of success now. So maybe that simple fact has hurt him a little bit, but I think it's also a reflection of, a lot of teams are looking for the next coach, and he's been passed by. I mean, it's hard to say any one reason. I know he did interview last year in New Jersey for the job that went to Sheldon Keefe. I know they thought really highly they thought he interviewed very well. And so I don't think that that's the issue. It's just the right fit hasn't come along, is maybe the best way to put it.
Charlie wants to know any info on Jonathan Toews. Will he play next season? Thoughts on Winnipeg or Toronto signing him?
I don't know if he's going to play next season. It does appear, though, that he's giving the comeback a real try. He's been skating for quite some time now. I've seen on social media doing work with Adam Oates a little bit, and really trying to put himself in a position. And that's one thing Jonathan's been open about in talking, is he just didn't know if he could himself get back to a level where it makes sense. I don't know if he's made that decision yet, but the fact he still continues to be training as a hockey player, I think, is an encouraging sign. And, my understanding always was that he was open to the potential of Winnipeg. Maybe at Toronto. I don't think that he had one place in mind. I think he wants to be somewhere where he can be part of the puzzle. And really the hardest part, probably for both Jonathan, but any team that might look to sign him, assuming this comeback continues and becomes more of a reality, is what can you expect of him at this stage? I mean, it's an unknown. I believe he's 37 years old, which makes him among the oldest skaters in the league nowadays. Still very young in human years, but he's a long way removed from his best days as a player. Now, can he, the one thing that was always an edge for him, I think, was the way he thought the game and between the ears. Presumably he's still got those instincts and that ability, but, I'd love to see him back. I got to say, selfishly, it just would be cool to see a guy who's been through a lot with his health, has shared that journey openly. It'll be cool to see him, whether it's in his hometown in Winnipeg or, Toronto, wherever it ends up being, Colorado. I mean, anywhere that he chooses to play, I think would be pretty cool if he can make it happen. I mean, I just think of the reaction when Gabriel Landeskog came back in these playoffs. It's not quite the same thing, but it's a little bit similar. I mean, this was taken away from Toews, his hockey career, by something that was beyond him, and it appears he's at least trying to reclaim that a little bit, and that's where I see the parallels with Gabriel Landeskog.
Yeah, I think you'd get a similar reaction for sure. Last one for you from Kadri Sens. How do you see the Senators' blue line shaking up this summer with Nick Jensen's surgery? Do they add another top 4 D-man or an upgrade on Artem Zub? I can help you with this one if you need.
You take it. You field this one, my friend.
Like, I think with Nick Jensen's surgery, the lower body surgery, from what I remember Bruce Garriock reporting, I think it really depends on what ends up happening with that Claude Giroux contract. They right now have a little over 17 mil, almost 18 mil in space. Depending on what ends up happening with him, that determines on how much space they'll have to try to get a goal scorer or a top defenseman. I think they could use an upgrade on Nick Jensen. I know he played really well with Thomas Chabot this last year, but you could probably still plug in another defenseman for depth. I still think the Sens, if anything, they'll probably prioritize getting a goal scorer more than anything else this offseason, though.
Right. I mean, it seems to me they have a need on the right side, or someone who can play the right side.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, newsflash, a lot of teams are in the same spot, but maybe it isn't a high impact guy. But with Hamonic moving on, it just feels like there's definitely one seat to be warm there. It's funny, just my brain is like unlocked this thing I haven't thought about in a few weeks, but I mean, that Sanderson performance against the Leafs in the first round is one thing that stands out to me watching those games, the 6 of them, live and in person. So the Sens are in pretty good hands on the blue line. Clevin had, some great moments in that series too, but clearly I could see one more veteran player being brought in. I have a hard time thinking though it's going to be a big splashy name necessarily, maybe someone more to stabilize things.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.